Hello, YouTube. What's up, everybody? So, today I am going to be bringing you guys a weekly check in. I decided that I wanted to put my weekly off season check ins public and develop a vlog where weekly I can go in and just show everyone how I go about my off season and putting on some muscle mass when the competition season is over. So, we're going to dive into everything, go right into our diet, training, PED protocol, rehash a little bit of how the week went for us leading up each week and what the goals are to prepare for the following week and show you all the adjustments and every little detail as possible and just share that with everybody. And hopefully it helps and hopefully it keeps me motivated to keep putting these out weekly and focus on my program, focus on myself, and try to make progress weekly. So that's the name of the game. We'll get to that right after this. All right. Weekly check in. It is actually week one right now, just starting the off season, just competed last weekend. So I'm going to show you my initial check in, which is actually just kind of my starting point. So this will be the day right after my show on Saturday on the 25th of October. So this will be from the 26th of October. It's going to be the day right after the show, to show you where the starting point is. And then we'll get into how we have the off season set up so we can get through this rebound and then move into a more developed off season once the rebound effect wears off. So let's just jump right into it. All right. Got this little template put together where we can just hash things out and show you pretty much all the details, I think in a nice organized fashion. So again, we got week one to start here. This is going to be October 26th, the day right after the show. So here's some basic stats that we're going to start off with. Just for background, this show this year was not my best competitive season. I struggled with stress, with work, I had a change in life where I sold my old company and moved into working for myself again, but working by myself, no employees, and transitioning into coaching full time with bodybuilding. So it was certainly a scary, nerve-wracking, anxious kind of moment for me, to be honest. But I'm happy that I did it. It's been working out great. Now I get to do full time what I love to do, which is bodybuilding coaching, as well as focus on my own bodybuilding and building this YouTube channel and just staying in the realm of fitness and bodybuilding and make a living that way. So I dealt with a lot of stress over the winter, and also my sleep quality was terrible. I would be up at 2:30, 3:30 in the morning, sleep for maybe 2, 3 hours. Those 2 or 3 hours were 45-minute stints at a time. And I would just get up, start my day, have my coffee, get on cardio by 4 in the morning, go at it like a bat out of hell, and never really gave my body the opportunity it needed to recover. As you all know, I preach all the time about recovery with my clients. It's something that we always put by the wayside. We apply ourselves with training, we apply ourselves with our diet. But when it comes to rest and recovery, for some reason, that's something we all put last on the list, but probably needs more focus, to be honest. So that's going to be my goal this off season, because this off season I didn't put on but maybe a few pounds of muscle. I got right back to my 250-pound off season weight. I was competing this year in the light heavies, so I just made it under 198.5. Last year I was a heavyweight competing at 207 and seemed to be much better conditioned, fuller. I think I really took a beating on my physique with the lack of rest and sleep and quality recovery, to be honest. This year before this one, I put on 18 pounds from the light heavyweights into the heavyweights. I went from, I think it was what, 191 to 209 range, 208, so 17-ish pounds of 16, 17 pounds, somewhere in that range. Had a great successful off season, but this one barely a few pounds. I guess that's just how it goes. But when I look back and decide to myself what was the problem, I think again, rest, recovery, and limiting my stress and kind of cortisol levels from the big transition I had from my work life. But that being said, we're going to start off. We've addressed everything when it comes to sleep. I got a better sleep pattern down. I got myself managing my cortisol and stress. I'm checking out on my blood work. I have some tactics and protocols. Maybe we'll jump into a video someday down the road and show you how that's kind of working for me. But we're going to have a much better off season. We're going to take it slow and steady and get a good rebound in and just put on quality mass. This year is where we started. Right after the show, morning of the show, woke up 198.2. My waist is roughly around 32, 34. Estimated body fat, I was not the best condition this year, which is something I'm usually known for. Do quite a good job of conditioning as well as Jackie, something we really take pride in. But I'd say I'm starting around 7 to 9% body fat. I'm certainly under 10, but there's a few spots on my physique I'm not thrilled about. This morning after the show, look a little bit fuller. Seems like I actually dropped a little bit of stress, and that must have helped the look a little less soft. So that's good. Well, let's jump right into week one's check-in photos. So let's see. So right here, this is again Sunday, day one, right after the show. See if we can zoom in a little bit. So this is our starting point. You can see I still got plenty of tan on and some decent definition in the quads, nothing to write home about. A little fuller in the chest and the shoulders here. But I got a good night's sleep and that was good. We had a successful night with the team competing, so it dropped a lot of stress for me. When I compete, I usually have people in these shows and I'm competing, I'm coaching. If you watch their last video of the New England Championships or the East Coast Cup, you'll see that I had 2, 3 people competing in those shows, and then also had people across the country. And New England's, I had someone in San Antonio, Stephanie, competing. So it does provide a lot of stress. So I feel like I dropped a little stress overnight, and that certainly made me feel a little better. So we got our front relaxed, front double, just seem a little bit tighter up top. So it's a good starting point. I'm pretty happy with where we're at. Front lat spread. For some reason, my lats are hanging up in the photos. But I would estimate at 198 pounds, it's decent conditioning. Again, nothing to write home about. You can see on the back there's a little bit of fat in the tie-ins, but is what it is. We got most muscular shot here. Been working on that GHK copper, trying to bring this in with the skin being loose. Certainly been improving, but it takes some time. Got a back double bicep here, again, holding some fat up in the glutes and a little bit in this tie-in. That would have been nice to come off, and then this little film in the lower back to be better conditioning for sure. You can see, though, I'm certainly still massively flat. You can see right in the back, there's not a ton of detail just because nothing's really pushing against the skin at the moment. So that was the stage I was in. Zoom back out. I think that's it actually for photos there. So that's our starting point. And let's see, let's go back to our off-season check-in template. So this off-season for training, I'm going to do a little bit of a different approach. I'm going to stick with the push-pull leg, which I'm currently running pull quads for legs, push, back, pull, and then legs again, which is mainly a hamstring dominant day. This first week of training, no PRs, no highlights, nothing to really write home about. My first week back. Usually just got to take it easy, listen to my body, but I'm getting myself into my new routine of my new program, just keeping the intensity reasonable and understandable. You're in a certain position when post-show that injury is possible. You still have to rehydrate, you have to refuel some food, usually a little bit weakened and fatigue that's been built up from a long prep. I'd been in prep for 25 plus weeks between the two shows. Nothing to write home about with the highlights or PR. But I would say best exercise of the week. It was nice to really get on the leg press and just enjoy getting back to training legs, because on peak week, we don't train legs at all. We let the fatigue and inflammation drop off. So about 8 or 9 days before the show is our last leg day. So really enjoyed this first week, jumping back on, training some quads, getting that pump and getting stretched out that way. Training notes, energy was up, pumps were noticeably a little bit better, and recovery seemed to be something that I didn't worry so much about. So that was nice. I knew that I'd be able to allot myself a little bit more time in the off season for recovery versus when we're on show prep, we're really focusing on staying on schedule, recovering in a window so we can train the next day. So let's take a look at training here. This has me on my diet, but let's get into the training. So we'll just quickly go through this here. The way Jackie and I are big fans of is setting up these meso blocks for a 6 week block. We might extend and repeat this week 5 if we're not quite ready for a rest period or a rest week or a deload, however you want to call it. But eventually you'll see that the numbers of working sets progress upward week by week, adding more volume to the training. And then throughout the week, we plug in the frequency we want, depending on the weak body parts or what's our strengths and what's our weaknesses or what areas need to be targeted. So this day one is my pull. I train 5 days a week straight, then take 2 straight days off on the weekend. I've tried every method that seems to work well for me. But what I decided to do, instead of sticking with just high volume and getting stimulus through time under tension, mainly and completely for my training, this year I decided to switch things up a little bit and go with some of my bigger compound movements, finding myself wanting to get back to that 6 to 8 rep range, the high intensity, progressive overload, pushing heavier weight, and see if I could really tear down the muscle early on in my training after I warm up for the day. So I'll warm up when I get there to train. I'll do some progressive overload sets. I'll usually, if it's 2 working sets here, for example, I'm actually going to put myself in a position to warm up with a set and then get a working set right after where I stay in that 6 to 8 rep range. And then I'll get a second working set where I try to top that number. And if I need to, I'll back the weight off and do a third set that's still a working set. I might add it, I might not, but I don't program it into here and do the back off set. So you can see, at least on this day one, this is the style that I'm going to try to work with, is do some of this compound movements, more progressive overload. And then for the rest of the back workout, we're going to just work on that higher rep range, higher volume, build, pump, stretch the fascia, and try to load the muscle with as much nutrient-rich blood from the diet I've been eating all day, and let that blood sit in there and walk out of the gym with a pump, and then go home and recover and eat again. So we got pull day one. Leg day for day two is mainly a quad focus. Again, you can see those progressive overload sets are going to be on the Cybex leg press, which is a favorite of ours, and the hack squat. The pendulum's just a secondary option if I need to, if the hack squat's broken or somebody's using it. But then you can see once that progressive overload is done, again, moving into a more volume training where these leg curls, these single joint movements, I can focus on higher reps at building a pump and building the stimulus through volume. If everything was progressive overload, if everything was high intensity, every single movement for the day, I don't know how recoverable that is. And I don't know how you're actually, by the end, doing your last, let's say the true squat on the Rogers. If I do that in high intensity, but I've already done 4 exercises ahead of time, 10 working sets of high intensity, I don't know how much effort I'm going to be able to put into that last exercise. You're going to be tired, run down, sore, not give your best output. So I don't think you'd really be gauging strength either. So that's kind of my focus, is progressive overload at start, move into the volume. So it's damage the muscle with these movements, pump blood, volumize it with this movements, and then go home and recover. So won't get into everything, but this is my push day. You can see some of the bigger compound movements out front. Same thing, shoulder movements. I am going to try a shoulder press progressive overload. If I start to feel a little tweak in my shoulder, I will move this to something different. Certainly not use the intensifier of high intensity, low rep training for that. Day 4 is my second pull. And the same thing, you can see we've loaded up a little bit of progressive overload on some of the movements that it makes sense for, and throw in some biceps as well because we got to look good at the beach. And then second day has quad work in it. We're just touching up on the quads, but we really don't want to damage them too much because we already trained them on Tuesday. But I want to get a little bit more frequency on training them weekly. So I'll put some quad work in on my hamstring focused day. We for a progressive overload set or high intensity set, however you want to call it, where we're going to be working on the hack squat, doing a stiff legged deadlift on the hack. That way I don't have to balance. It actually feels a little more comfortable on the weight bearing of my back, which is great. So I prefer actually doing it that way on the hack squat. It's very comfortable. So that there's training. That's what we're going to start off at. My goal is again to try something different. I've always in the past had great luck with progressive overload. Even though with the volume work, we're still doing progressive overload if you think we're trying to match one more rep, one more set, but we're working in the spectrum of high rep training, high volume training, lighter weight, and really just getting more time under tension and stretching the fascia. But I want to do a little mixture of some. I do also think I'm going to hammer down some more of the volume in the sense of using intensifiers for volume. So that could be finishing a shoulder day on plate loaded lateral raises and doing my last set of that exercise as an FST 7 set, where you do 7 sets consecutively, really short 30-second maximum breaks in between each set. And during that break, you're also holding a flex in the target muscle, keeping the blood there so you can pump it during the training, hold the blood in there with the flex, get back on, pump it bigger, and hopefully by 7 sets, you're getting a massive stretch of that fascia and creating tension and adaptation to grow through stretching by volumizing the muscle rather than forcefully on the high intensity. So that's my goal there. So we showed our training. We'll get into our diet. So we're going to start off with this diet being a little conservative. As I might have explained in the past or through some of my videos, we're really big on carb cycling. Paul, my coach, has taught me that over the past years using carb cycling as our diet. It's very effective for me. It's enjoyable, it's easy to adhere to, and it's flexible. So I enjoy carb cycling where I get macros put together. I'll usually develop like a base of a diet that I'm working on, but it allows me to macro match throughout the off season, whether you get sick of a certain food or you actually decide that you ran out of something, you have to call an audible real quick, at least knowing your macronutrients and what kind of acceptable foods we can use off of an approved foods list that Paul's provided and ones I've added to that list over the years. I can make adjustments very quickly and on the fly and make it accommodate with my life very easy or pretty much for anyone. So it's a very flexible diet. So right now I'm running 2 high days right off the bat with this rebound. And I'm used to usually a lot higher carbohydrates than this, but we're going to start with 700 carbs on the high day. I've been up to 1,000 to 1,200 grams of carbs 3 times a week for high days in the past and handled the food quite well. The one thing I'm not going to do, which Paul tends to do, is lower the protein on the high day just to make things easier to digest, as well as carbs are protein sparing, so we don't really have a huge requirement for them. We need them, but we don't need quite as much. But what I'm going to do is start here at a little bit lower carb, start at 700, and just try to manage that rebound a little bit more responsibly. Instead of blowing out my physique within 6 weeks, I'm going to try to just keep a nice lean, clean, tight package together, keep cardio in. Right now, I still got cardio in on this first week. We don't want to drop it right away or your metabolism can just slow down. We don't want to drop our fat burners right away. We want to taper off those. And the same idea goes with the cardio plan. And then the opposite side of the coin is the same goes with the food, but in reverse. I'm going to start a little lower and just titrate up rather than starting at my maximum effective dose of food and just get myself up to off-season weight very quickly. High days, we're going to start with 700 grams of carbs. Carbs get a little bit higher during the training window for the pre and post and then intra. We're actually going to put down 50 grams of carbs, keep it a little bit on the somewhat higher range. Then the rest of my training days are these medium days where, again, it's pretty low food for me for an off season. I might usually be around the 500 grams on a medium day or 450 grams a day. We're going to start just under 300 at 295 and keep the carbs a little bit low. And again, really focus it around the area that I'm going to be able to uptake those nutrients the best and allow my insulin output and the demand for food to just be drawn in during this training window. So we got lower carbs on the other meals that are outside that training window, higher carbs within, and we got some added fats. Other than the training window, I don't like putting fats in there either. And then what we got here for our low day is also a lower carbohydrate day where I basically have zero carbs. Now, most people wouldn't enjoy that. It's not my favorite thing, but I actually do tend to respond well. My digestion gets a break. My pancreas gets a break from pushing out insulin all the time with these higher carbs. And it really just resets me on the rest periods, on the rest days. Eventually, we'll probably squeeze some carbohydrates into this down the road. But for now, we're just going to go with protein and a serving of vegetables or berries, maybe no more than 10 grams of carbs from those sources is the goal. And then we're going to put 10 grams of added fat on each meal. So I put myself at about a 9,000 step count. I don't want to go again completely sedentary. I want to make sure that I'm keeping daily activity high to the best of my ability. And also, again, like I said, that cardio is going to stay in there. So we'll slowly taper down on the cardio over time. Look at who's here. It's Miss Jackie. Want to say hi? What what up? Jackie's having coffee. All right. We just went into diet. I put some questions here so I can keep you up to date on repetitive questions. And honestly, obviously, no macro changes other than the initial diet of the rebounds been put back in place. Digestion or food swap notes, nothing yet. Sticking with a lot of the same foods we were prepping on just to keep digestion in line as food volume goes up. Eventually, even though this week I did sneak in some foods that might not have had on prep, like I used some graham crackers for a little bit of carb sources. Wasn't doing red meat, but I'm going to start implementing red meat back in. So there's another change. But basic foods, my favorite meal or prep hack is still the yogurt protein drip. Actually, I did pull that up, so I'll show you that. So here, from one of our videos in the hamstring workouts during this prep, this is one of my favorite meals. It's super simple, super clean, very bodybuilder friendly. And what it is actually in this dish, we put a little of the Fage yogurt, which is the zero fat yogurt, and there's some protein in it and basically next to nothing for carbs. So that goes on the bottom layer. And then what we put is some frozen fruit, usually either blueberries or I stuck with strawberries just because there's a better calorie count for the serving size. And we put like about 100 grams of berries in there. And then we do a protein drip of my favorite protein lately has been the marshmallow milk from Farm Fed from Axe and Sledge. You put that into a nice thick drip, put that over the frozen berries, and it just comes out like a nice, like Laffy Taffy texture that's cold. And the yogurt isn't frozen, but it's a little stiffened up. It's got a good texture, and the fruit tastes great. And then you can see this brown stuff on top is actually just a little bit of sugar free, like Swerve brand brown sugar sweetener. So instead of using like a Splenda on top to give a little bit, I put this brown sugar because that taste really works well. So that's still my favorite meal, where we can say prep hack is actually like a dessert when you're on prep. And all it is, you get the concoction right. It's basically 50 grams of protein, maybe 8 or 9 grams of carbs and fat free. It's something that I might do on a low day and then add some whole almonds on top and eat those along with the meal. And there I go, I got my fat sources. That brings us to the next part. The part everyone wants to talk about, wants to see, is the off-season cycle. So let's pull that one up now. All right, so that brings us to the off-season cycle. This year is where we are going to start. And what I typically do is I keep things, I don't want to say aggressive, but it's certainly not like a TRT basic dosage. This is an obvious cycle, as anyone can see, but it's much lower than where my prep was at. So I can tell you that the androgen load is lower for sure from prep, but this is going to be my starting point. And I want to try to be a little bit aggressive out of the gate, keep some androgen load in there, some milligram load, and try to just put on in as much size as I can cleanly to start. And so this is what we're going to start off with. I have this wrong. It's actually 500 test. So we had 500 actually a week of testosterone. EQ, is what I'm using for an extra anabolic, but also it helps manage my estrogen because I'm not a big fan of AIs. So aromatase inhibitors are gone. I hate those. Hopefully, this will just lightly manage my estrogen and get me within a range. We're going to do blood work here soon and see where that's at after the show. So we got 450 EQ, and we just put a touch of not even an ml of my NPP. Did 150 for that. That's going to help get my joints a little bit revitalized and just be another anabolic driver. And then we're tapering. I like to taper off the dosage of trenbolone. So you'll see this eventually will come out, but I was running 140 milligrams, very low, 20 milligram a day. Most guys are running 3, 4, 5, 600 milligrams a week, but I was doing about 140 a week for trend during my show. That's all I need, and that's all my baby ass can handle because I am not a fan of the side effects of trenbolone. I cut that dose in half for the first week. I'll cut it in half for the second week, and then I'll pretty much eliminate it as we continue on. And that's it. And then the growth hormone, this is low for me, but we're at 5 units. Some off seasons I cranked up to a little over 10 units a day, but the prep I decided to just run a lower dose, 4 to 5 units every single day, just to hold fullness, but also help with the polycystic body fat because that does a great job with it. So I'm still going to continue to take all this growth hormone at night. I'm not going to space it out. I don't really believe in that. I think you're going to very quickly come across glucose issues if you're doing multiple administrations that is not at nighttime to match your pituitary's output. It's your natural time that you put out growth hormone at night. You're going to run into some glucose issues, especially when food starts getting high during a rebound. That's what we have in this retatrutide dose. We're going to get down to 1 milligram. And the fat burners, I didn't plug them in, but we're using a little bit of an ECY stack, very small amount of Clen, and the SLU PP332. So those are all going to by week 3 be eliminated and tapered down. And depending on how my blood work comes out, we might keep in 1 milligram of retatrutide just to keep. It does a fantastic job with lipids and does a fantastic job with glucose management. That might be something I actually try rather than using metformin or berberine consistently, and just check my bloods and see how it works. So that's our starting cycle right there. Get rid of a couple of these windows. All right. Compound changes, not really, other than it's a new cycle. But what we did was eliminate all the DHT derivatives. So there's no Mastron, there's no Primo, and then lower dosages in general. I did have EQ and testosterone and growth hormone running. I didn't have nandrolone, and just a touch of tren was involved. But if it's still in there, it's being lowered if DHT is being eliminated. This first week, didn't notice not much coming off the prep drugs, so orals are eliminated. So I did feel a little bit weaker this first week, but I certainly felt like recovery was going to pick up real quick. My body sensed like it was in a good position to start recovering. Stress was lower, sleep improved, just overall had less on my mind. So I was happy about that. Any noticeable side effects or notable, observations? And it's yes, I'm glad I'm not pinning a ton of gear. I fit everything in one insulin needle once a day. That's happy. I like that. Coach's feedback and self-assessment. So Coach Paul, he's happy with the progress. He's happy where I woke up a day after the show. He got to see me in person. He was staying at our house for the New England Championships with Dr. Karina, Jackie's coach. So we were pretty happy with where we stayed, and I was very responsible and manageable, conservative with my food. I didn't eat off plan the first night. The second day, we went out for breakfast, but I stuck with some foods that I wanted to have, like I wanted an omelet and some toast, stuff I normally wouldn't have, but it wasn't crazy at all. Egg white omelet and a little bit of toast, and I had some of the home fries, was as dirty as it got for me. So we're pretty happy about thinking we're going to try to stay pretty lean, but Paul was happy with the look. He wants to get ready and start this off season, likes the way I put my diet together, and get blood work is top of the priority. So we'll go over that when that blood work comes in. So my thoughts for this week and just going forward is really want to emphasize discipline. I want to lean on the discipline that I have. Jackie and I have always been ones that really don't alter from our plan. Once we put something into play, we stick with it and we tend to stay patient. So I want to lean on the fact that I have good discipline. We're all human. I'm going to have snacks. I'm going to go out and enjoy dinner with my wife once in a while. And I'm going to miss a meal here and there. But my intent is to stay disciplined and goal focused because I certainly know the way I felt after this off season and this competitive season. I wasn't happy with the work I put in. But a lot of work, got very little out of it. So we're going to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Distractions put away. Anything I don't need to focus on, whether that's the news that has nothing to do with me across the world or someone else's business at the gym that has nothing to do with me, I'm going to keep my blinders on, worry about myself, stay very stoic in the sense of worrying about the things that I can control and forgetting about the things that I have no control over. I think if I eliminate those distractions and put that into my household, and Jackie and I can adopt that, we'll be able to be a little happier, a little more stress free. I think that's a good thing to actually pay attention to. And then last one was stress down. I really want to focus on rest and recovery, but also managing my cortisol. So that's a big emphasis. Mental state, currently tired, but recovering. It was a long prep, two shows within the same month. I think I was on prep for something like 24 plus weeks, if not a little longer, 16 weeks plus the break between the two. And then I had a kind of a slight prep entering or pre prep phase before this all started. So I'm just excited and curious about the future is my mental state. I want to just stay calm and make this all work, have another productive off season and not waste it away. Sleep quality is very improved. My CPAP's a lifesaver. I broke it the other night, the elbow that comes down out of the face mask, and I got that replaced in one day. Thank God to Amazon Prime. Got the part I needed. Sleep quality's improved. I've been working on using some supplemental aids for sleep, using blue light glasses to help my brain down regulate its stimulatory response at night and just try to get myself a little calmer. And I think I found some supplements that I'm really enjoying that are helping with my sleep quality. So I'm at least staying in bed till 5 the next day. I'm certainly not getting up at 2 or 3 or somewhere in that crazy range and losing out on sleep that I could be having. Recovery level, it's slowly going to improve. I'm just realizing where I'm at, and it's only going to get better from here. Then I thought something interesting would be to put in this for you guys. It's just a couple kind of interactive things and fun things to hit on weekly. And one is I wanted to provide a weekly lesson or a takeaway. So I think this week, first week after the show, I wanted to really emphasize that the off season isn't a break. It's where you build the next you. So what I don't need to do is ruminate on where I am now, but focus on where I'm headed is the thought process of that. And I think if I really use mental fortitude and mental strength and discipline, I can keep this in mind that the off season isn't time off. It's productive, yet it can be less stressful and fit your schedule. That's my lesson of the week right there. Then I wanted to ask you guys your viewer questions. So if you guys got anything I'm missing during these check-ins you want to put in the description below, I'll make sure I hit on it. I didn't really get into any peptides I'm utilizing if that's something you're interested in or any kind of training details or anything you want to hear. Just let me know. We'll get to it. I'll make sure I at least respond, if not make a video on it. Oh, and then the recipe or food hack of the week, I already gave that to you. My yogurt protein drip. Thought that was fantastic. And then my training tip of the week. So when we get into a show prep, we have this goal of just lose body fat, maintain muscle mass. When we switch these phases, we go into a different mindset. And my training tip is not very tangible. It's more of just a thought process. And that's that I want to focus on my new goal and not be stuck in the mental of prep. And what I mean by that is I shouldn't have to be worrying about burning calories. I should be worrying about stimulating the muscle and putting on muscle tissue. So there's a complete different mindset of show prep versus the new goal that you're working on in an off season. So I need to just be mentally strong to identify that and move my thought process over to that the goals have changed and to stay focused on them. Put my blinders on and just stay focused on the target. So that's my tip of the week. And some bonus fun stuff I got for us is the song of the week. Fun stuff that we wanted to include. I thought that would be interesting to you guys is the song of the week that I was jamming out to during my training and cardio was a Sleep Token song. Very big fan of Sleep Token, and Fields of Elation was the name of the song. Been really enjoying this one. Definitely exemplifies them as a band. Gets you amped up in the gym. Certainly been enjoying that one. And then last thing I wanted to do is just a real life note or a funny moment or something that's kind of worth maybe outside the gym emphasizing. And this week, I'll just pretty much read what I wrote here. And it's just something that I realized I need to pay attention to. And so my real life note I wanted to share for the week is realizing what's important. So my life note of the week is I was doing some editing on my YouTube. I asked my wife to record her getting some baked goods for the team and myself and everybody at the show. And of course, knowing me, I didn't eat any of it because I'm strict and I'm always on that mental process after a show. But when I watched her video and I saw how excited she was to get me these beautiful looking eclairs and how excited she was to see me have what I certainly earned for a snack, and of course I didn't have any, and it just was something that I wanted to remember. I want to make sure to point out to her that I noticed this, and I was very thankful that she was happy to see that she was getting me something that I was going to enjoy. And she put that thought and effort into me. And I just dismissed it a little bit as in, thank you, but I'm not going to have anything. I'm a bodybuilder and I'm going to stay on plan. And I just look back and realize, to be honest, sometimes you're better off paying attention to the important things in life. It's fun to compete, but it's good to also break away and almost make a point to break away after and enjoy time with those that have supported you and gave you your peace and quiet, gave you your space. So it quite honestly broke my heart a little bit to watch that and realize like she was excited to see me enjoy these snacks she put some thought and effort into. And it's bodybuilding classic moment is just having a good snack after the show or a treat or a pastry or a meal or pizza, whatever you want to enjoy. And I skipped that part. And it wasn't just me missing out, it was also the people around me that wanted to see me enjoy breaking free and celebrating. I do regret that. And I'm going to make sure that I point out to her that I noticed her joy in her face and the excitement of saying, I got Dave something. He's going to be a happy husband. And I should have just ate the things and enjoyed it and been appreciative. That's my real life note of the week for you guys. And so next week's focus is just going to be getting my blood work analyzed. I'm going to do a pretty extensive panel. I think we'll get a video in about that, as well as to continue to stay disciplined on plan and just be patient. Upcoming adjustments that I have is probably the obvious ones. Food's going to escalate over time. I'd imagine we'll get to 3 high days pretty quick or change macros to be higher in general. So that's week one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Anything I'm missing, put in the comments below, as well as if there's any other ideas or questions you have for us at Blue Collar that we can answer for you, just reach out. We have consultations that we offer as well. And also keep in mind, if you want custom coaching or just want to support the channel, there's some links I'll drop below for my Calendly or subscribe to us, or to go ahead and check us out on Instagram. Give us a follow. It's much appreciated. But thanks for coming out. You guys know the drill. And subscribe, drop a comment below, and I'll catch up with you on next week's weekly public check-in vlog.